In the three-body problem series, the true significance of Salazar's nanofibers is never explained. They appear first as a tactical weapon in the Judgment Day episode, and later as tethers for the Staircase project. But the reason Trisolarans treated this technology as an existential risk is left largely unexplained. While the Sophons successfully suppressed humanity's progress in fundamental physics, nanofiber engineering remained one of the few remaining paths toward a genuine breakout in civilizational capability: the construction of the space elevator. To understand its importance, we must first recognize that we are currently trapped at the bottom of our planet's gravity well, forced to rely on chemical rockets that burn absurd amounts of energy just to lift a few tons into orbit. This bottleneck effectively keeps the civilization from becoming a spacefaring species. As long as humanity is bound to the ground, it remains a stationary target, a single fortress that can be surrounded and eventually conquered. The Salazar's nanofibers, and especially impossibly strong threads like the flying blades, are the key to breaking that prison because they make the space elevator an engineering certainty. A tether strong enough to stretch from Earth to geostationary orbit would trigger an economic explosion by enabling a continuous stream of cargo into orbit, effectively unlocking human space colonization overnight. To understand just how radically transformative a single space elevator would be for human civilization, let's first look at the simplest, physically viable configuration. A simple space elevator consists of a continuous tensile tether, anchored at Earth's equator and extending upward beyond geostationary orbit, which lies approximately 35,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. Geostationary orbit is a unique location in space, where an object's orbital period matches Earth's rotation, allowing it to remain fixed above a single point on the planet. In this basic configuration, lifting cargo from Earth to geostationary orbit, while far cheaper than using chemical rockets, is not free. The climber must still expend electrical energy to move mass upward along the tether. Although this energy requirement is dramatically lower than that of chemical rockets, which must lift their own propellant, it is still substantial. This equation changes dramatically once we introduce space resource extraction, which is widely regarded as inevitable development in the future space industry. Without a space elevator, delivering these materials to Earth requires launching re-entry vehicles into orbit and bringing them back safely, which imposes significant costs. With a space elevator, however, any material mined in space would instead descend from geostationary orbit down the tether, and in doing so, generate energy. Instead of being dissipated as heat during atmospheric re-entry, this energy is converted into a large amount of electrical power. A descending mass effectively becomes a moving weight, driving elevator generators in the same way that falling water drives hydroelectric turbines. Not only would it cost nothing to bring the payload to Earth, it would actually generate a substantial additional revenue. Interestingly, the amount of electrical energy produced by lowering a given mass from geostationary orbit is, in principle, equal to the energy that would be required to lift that same mass up to the same altitude. The elevator therefore becomes a reversible energy system. Ascent consumes energy, and descent produces it. In other words, a space elevator would make the vertical transfer of mass in both directions virtually free. Now consider the implications at an industrial scale. The only reason we have just a few small and fragile space stations today, built from the lightest materials possible, is because the cost of lifting construction material into orbit remains extraordinarily high. Even under the most optimistic rocket-based assumptions, assembling a space-based version of an aircraft carrier in geostationary orbit would require hundreds of billions of dollars in energy costs alone, which is dozens of times the price of the carrier itself. Now, if large quantities of construction materials can be lifted into orbit at no cost, orbital infrastructure can expand dramatically. Space construction is no longer constrained by launch costs. Kilometer-long orbital structures become feasible. Massive solar power arrays, industrial platforms, and interplanetary spacecrafts can be built in orbit using Earth-made materials lifted essentially for free. In this way, space elevators would not merely improve access to space, they would eliminate Earth's gravity well as an economic barrier. The result would be a rapid transition from a planet-bound technological civilization to a permanently spacefaring one, unfolding not over centuries, but within decades. The only fundamental obstacle to achieving this is material strength and the affordable production of that material. For this reason, the first space elevator will likely be built on the Moon, where the required tensile strength is dramatically lower, and even currently available materials could make such a structure feasible. Without atmosphere, there would be no corrosion or aerodynamic stress, and the Moon's weak gravity would make the entire construction process far simpler. One of the Japanese construction giants has openly committed to researching space elevator technologies, focusing on the central challenge: materials that can maintain structural integrity for decades. Meanwhile, ISEC is currently testing graphene superlaminates in an effort to solve a key manufacturing challenge: how to produce long, continuous sheets of graphene at scale. Their goal is to develop a tether prototype strong enough to support its own weight over thousands of kilometers. While construction of the first space elevator is unlikely to begin before 2050, the groundwork is already being laid. The reason Trisolarans couldn't allow humanity to become spacefaring is not only because it would give them ability to build a massive space fleet, but because their survival depended on human civilization being confined to their star system. With cheap access to space, humanity could build massive generation ships, self-contained habitats capable of traveling for centuries, and scatter in every direction. A species that spreads into the void is no longer a viable target. Because survival in the dark forest depends on secrecy, a dispersed humanity becomes a cosmic wildcard. Even one surviving human colony, hidden somewhere in interstellar space, could one day broadcast the coordinates of their location to the greater universe. Thus, to the Trisolarans, nanofibers are not merely threads capable of cutting through anything. They are the first visible crack in the wall that protects their technological superiority. A crack that could widen into space elevators and escaping colonies, and eventually into the same indestructible materials that make the Trisolarans so deadly. That is why they did not merely try to slow nanotechnology with corrupted data or scrambled equations. They went after the people who built it, planting countdowns in their minds. In the three-body problem universe, nanofibers are the doorway to a future in which humanity is no longer a victim, passively waiting on a single blue planet, but a civilization that can no longer be contained. To find out more about the three-body problem universe, this playlist explores many aspects that are often misunderstood. It's a growing collection, with new videos added over time.